You ever wonder if you could design a system, like an auction or a team project, heck, even a government policy, where everyone just acting in their own self-interest actually leads to the best possible outcome for the whole group? Well, that's the core idea behind a really fascinating field called mechanism design.
Okay, so at its heart, this is the big puzzle, right? How do you write the rules for a game so that people want to tell the truth? I mean, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it's the smartest thing to do for them. And this problem, it shows up everywhere. Think eBay auctions, international climate agreements, you name it.
All right, to get our heads around this, we've got to stop thinking like players in the game and start thinking like the architects of the game itself. So this really flips a familiar idea right on its head. You see, most of us have probably heard of game theory, right? That's where you're given a set of rules and you try to predict what's going to happen. Well, mechanism design is the complete opposite. It's like reverse game theory. You start with the outcome you want, let's say something super efficient or fair, and then you work backward to invent the rules that will basically guarantee you get there.
Yeah. Check out this analogy, it's perfect. You're not the person in the crowd yelling, "Hey, move in an orderly fashion." No way. You're the architect who designed the building so cleverly that everyone's individual selfish rush to the nearest exit naturally creates a smooth, safe flow for the entire group. That's the beautiful idea right there.
Okay, so what makes this so difficult? I mean, it sounds great in theory. Well, the biggest obstacle for any designer is actually super simple. We can't read minds.
We're basically up against two main adversaries, or villains, if you will. First up is hidden information. So the person selling you a used car, they know its real condition, but you don't. A big company knows its true cost to reduce pollution, but the government regulator has no idea. And then there's the second villain, self-interest. People are going to naturally use that hidden information to get the best deal for themselves, which, might not be the best deal for everybody else.
So any successful design has to play by two fundamental rules. It's non-negotiable. First, it has to be incentive compatible. All that means is the system makes being honest the most profitable strategy for you personally. Second, it has to satisfy individual rationality. This just means that people are only going to play your game if it's better for them than just walking away. Makes sense, right?
Now, with all these challenges, designing a system that works sounds, well, almost impossibly complex. But here's the cool part. Theorists came up with an absolute genius of a shortcut that simplifies everything. And that shortcut is called the revelation principle. And trust me, this is a total game changer. It basically says this: if you can achieve a goal with some super complex game full of bluffing and counter-bluffing and all that, you can also achieve it with a dead simple system where you just ask people for the truth, as long as you've set up the rules so it's in their best interest to give it to you.
So what this principle does is it allows designers to just cut through all the noise. We don't have to build some crazy labyrinth of rules. Nope. We just need to focus on one thing: crafting the perfect incentives for a simple, direct report. It turns what feels like an infinite search problem into something that's actually solvable. Okay, that's great. So we know we need to create an incentive for people to tell the truth. But how? How do we actually do that? What does a mechanism like that even look like in practice?
Well, this brings us to one of the most powerful tools in the toolbox, the Vickrey-Clarke-Groves mechanism, or just VCG for short. It's a system that gets people to be honest by doing something incredibly clever. It makes you pay for the inconvenience, the negative impact, or what economists call the externality, that you impose on everyone else.
The absolute magic of VCG is that it completely rewires your incentives. It creates a system where your personal payoff is directly tied to the total value created for the entire group. So when you act to maximize your own outcome, you are automatically, by design, maximizing the outcome for everyone. Helping yourself literally means helping the group. They become the same thing.
This movie analogy makes it super clear. Imagine you're choosing a movie with friends. Under a VCG system, if you insist on your choice and it wins, you have to actually pay your friends for their loss of happiness. You've got to compensate them for the fun they're missing out on from not seeing their choice. All of a sudden, you're forced to ask yourself, is my preference really worth that much? You'll only push for it if it truly is.
Okay, so we've got these amazing theoretical tools, but what happens when they collide with the messy reality of our world? With all its private information and self-interest?
Right. So in a perfect world, a first best world, where the designer is all-knowing, you could get a perfectly efficient outcome. But that's not our world. We live in the second best world, where you have to accept a trade-off. Getting people to reveal their private info, well, it costs something. And that cost often comes in the form of losing a little bit of that perfect efficiency.
And that cost? It actually has a name: information rents. Just think of it as the extra profit you have to leave on the table for the players who have the most valuable private information. Why would you do that? Well, you do it to make it more profitable for them to tell the truth about their high value instead of just pretending to be a low-value player to get an easier deal. It is, quite literally, the price you pay for truth. And here is a fantastic and honestly a really counterintuitive example of this in action. Think about a software company. They could easily include more features in their basic version, right? But they intentionally distort it. They make it less good on purpose to make sure the pro users don't just buy the cheap version. Those missing features, that's the price, the distortion needed to get the power users to honestly reveal themselves and pay up for the pro version. It's brilliant, really.
And look, this is not just some abstract theory. Mechanism design is the engine running some of the biggest markets in the world. It's behind the ad auctions at Google. It's how governments sell off wireless spectrum to cell phone companies. It's even used in conservation programs to pay farmers to protect the environment. It's everywhere once you know what to look for.
So, the next time you're stuck in a meeting that's going nowhere, or you're trying to figure out how to split a dinner bill with friends, try thinking like a mechanism designer. Ask yourself, what's the hidden information here? What are the real incentives at play? And is there one little rule you could change, just slightly, to make everyone's self-interest actually work for the good of the whole group?